Hi, my name is Oliver, and I work at the Caltrans District 11 Transportation Museum. The project within the museum that I work on is called the Oral Histories Project. Now you might be wondering to yourself, what do you mean by oral histories? Well, let me take a minute to explain a little bit more about it. So, oral histories is the collection and study of important information pertaining to persons, places, or things. In the context of our transportation museum, the thing that we focus on a lot is about the transportation network within San Diego. And in order for us to learn about the transportation network within San Diego, how it was built, how it was planned, and where it's planning to go, what we do is we seek out engineers, planners, construction workers, or a mix of people that have helped influence and or build the transportation network within San Diego. So what we do is we interview these people and invite them to the Transportation Museum and ask them questions about the projects that they worked on. So in this interview, they tell us the stories, their experiences, things that they like, things that they don't like. And with that, what we do is we capture all of those stories either through auditory, video, or even written down. Now, within the Transportation Museum, the way that we traditionally do it right now is we record a lot of it through video and audio. And I want to take a little bit of time to explain how we actually do this. So, let me show you. So the most important step, number one, is to find the people. Finding the people to interview is the most rewarding, but also the most challenging part. We actually have to look at historical records and actually talk to other people that we work with to figure out who actually worked on projects and who has some stories. And that could be one person or it can be hundreds. And that's where the fun and the challenge comes in for recording and gathering all of these oral histories. And the best resource that we do is we use each other as a resource. Through a network of people, especially working here at Caltrans, we have a huge network of people that work within the district, and everyone basically knows someone. And we leverage that network to ask people, hey, do you know someone that's worked on project X, Y, or Z? And then from there, we hope to get some contact information, and then we make the contact. And then once we find someone that we potentially want to interview, we start a dialogue. We want to get to know them. We want to see what kind of stories they had to tell and what they experience on a project that can help kind of, clear the air about certain things, why certain things happen. And then once we have that initial interview, we ask them, would you like to come into the museum to get interviewed and to have your stories recorded either through auditory or through video? And that's the step one. So once we can get that, once we can find the person to tell us the stories, the rest is easy. And in this next step, I want to show you a little bit about how we actually capture these oral histories. Okay, so I just told you the first step in recording these oral histories, and that is to find someone to interview. But here is the next step. So after finding a person to interview, the next step that we do is we invite them over to the museum. And since this project is in charge of documenting and interviewing and saving these oral histories, there are two things that are very important to this project: audio and video. Those are our two primary focuses within this project, is to make sure we get a good audio sound from the interview as well as good video, so therefore you can see them. So the first thing that we do is we invite them over to the museum. And within the museum, we are lucky enough to have a space in which we can conduct an interview. So we set up some chairs in a space that is well lit. And what we also do is we set up some additional lights. So I want you to kind of think about some lights, because as you're watching this video, you see that I am well lit and thing. As you watch the video, you can see that I'm well lit. And what that provides, it provides us a good way so therefore you can see the subject, the person that's getting interviewed. And let me show you what it looks like when there is no light. As you can see, it doesn't look as flattering because now you have all these shadows and all these things. And basically when you record oral histories, we want to make sure you look good, and therefore, you know, you're not getting distracted by other elements. So we choose to have the subject to be lit. So therefore, there is no distracting elements with the subject. So we'll also use some artificial lights with an interview, something like this, and it'll just help light the subject. And we'll do that. So that is the first step. Make sure that the subject that is getting interviewed is well lit and you can see them, because dark audio not dark audio, but dark video like this doesn't really help us. So we try to make good quality video recordings like this, so therefore the subject is nice and lit. All right, so the way we capture this video is we use digital cameras that can capture video. And what we also do is we use a microphone on top, so therefore we get a good audio read from the interviewer or the person getting interviewed, as well as a good clean video with the lens. So this is an example of the kind of equipment that we use to set up, and this is traditionally set up on a tripod. And the tripod is usually this device here, and it kind of captures, you know, we can set it down on the ground. I can interview, or one of my teammates can interview, and we can have the audio and the video run on top of that. So that's mainly how we capture it. So with all of that set up, then we actually have the interview, and the interviews can run from roughly, 30 minutes to an hour. And within that interview, we're asking, some of our questions, and these are questions that we send them early so therefore they can prepare. But sometimes within their stories, other questions pop up, and we usually will share that, or we'll ask more about it, so therefore we can tell more about that story. Now let me show you what we do next. After we find a person, we interview them, and we set up all that production. There's an additional step, so therefore we can share the oral histories. Okay, so I just shared with you the first and second step in creating these oral histories. Now we're going to move on to the third step. So after we interview a person at the museum, you might be asking yourself, what do you do with the audio and video? Well, this is where the third step comes into play. The first and the most important step in this last part of the oral histories is we back up and we save both audio and video of the interview. We usually will create that in a hard drive, so therefore we have the original copy, and then we also have a secondary copy of the audio and video that we work on. And that second that second copy, we take those files, and what we do is we edit down to a video that tells a story. And it is in this editing process in which we add different pictures, video elements, other things to help kind of enhance the story a little bit more. So therefore, when you say a certain thing, you either will hear the interview tell about that thing, but then we provide you a visual image of it. So that's when we insert either historical photos or historical video if we have it, and we add a more dynamic video for you guys to watch. And what we hope is, once we create that final piece, is to share it. And we are currently working on developing that process in which where we're going to share it, but for all intents and purposes, it's for us to kind of save in our archive, so therefore people like yourselves years down the road can come to the museum and ask, hey, can I see some oral histories from 10, 20 years ago? And there you have it. And so therefore you can kind of learn a little bit more about what it is that you're looking for. So basically that is kind of a simplified version of how we create these oral histories within the Transportation Museum and on the project that I'm working on. Okay, so I just gave you a quick rundown on how we create and produce these oral histories for the museum. Now, I gave you a more simplified version of it, and there's a lot more other steps that go into it, but the steps that I did highlight today in this talk are ways that we produce these things. So I'm going to show you a little clip of an oral history that we produced a while back, and it's going to provide you some insight a little bit more on what we produce.
So my name is Arturo Jacobo. I am the project manager for the I-5 North Coast Widening Project. I began working here in Caltrans in January 2nd of 1991, and so I've been here for almost 30 years now. You know, I'm very proud, first of all, to be a Caltrans employee. I truly believe in civil service. I feel honored to have worked on the I-5 so many years. It is most people usually work in one department, 3 or 5 years, or and then they rotate. I've been lucky to have been on the corridor basically for all of my 30 years, in different phases, from an engineer to a project engineer to a project manager. One of the most important items that I've learned is the relationship with people. At the end of the day, it's about the people. It's having people both internal and external that are willing to work with you. And I've been lucky on the I-5 corridor, and that's why I stay here so long, because I believe in the project and the team that we have. And I just don't mean my engineering team, I mean Caltrans as a whole. We have an extremely good relationship with our maintenance department, our traffic department, our environmental department, our planners, with SANDAG and the local cities. So I'm proud. I like what I do. I have this, like I said, I have this notebook that my mother saved. And so I am going to blow up one of those drawings of a local road, and I plan to put it next to a black and white one of I-5 back in the 1960s with one of the ones from my projects. So in my home office, I plan to have this big 3 posters, and I like it, and so then my children can fight over that someday.
So in closing, what I want to leave you with today is that it takes a lot of time and effort in producing these oral histories. But it's important that we capture these oral histories because they provide us the who, the what, the when, the how, and they answer a lot of questions that you might be wondering about certain things. Why a road goes that way? Why did you design it this way? These oral histories provide that historical information that we lose as people retire, as people move on, and having this and capturing these information provides us a great bank of knowledge that we can also learn from, and we can also go, oh, I completely understand why that happens now, because these are things that over time, if we don't document it, are lost to time. So oral histories are here to help preserve those memories, those experiences, and give us the reason in which certain things are the way they are. So my name is Oliver. I work with the Transportation Museum, and that was your preview of the Transportation Museum oral histories. So thank you for watching.